Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lancaster on this beautiful cold day. I was joking that when I went out to the car and it was only 27 degrees, I thought, well, I don't really need a coat, right? Good to see all of you this morning. I missed you all last week. We had to cancel because of the impending snow, and so we all had a Sunday off. I was joking that Unitarian Universalists especially like a snow day because we're so responsible. It actually allows us to do the thing that we would choose to do occasionally, which is goof off. So I hope you goofed off last week. Good to see you all this morning. Our call to worship this morning are words by Maria Mitchell, the prominent scientist of the late 1800s and early 1900s. She says, "Small as is our whole system compared with the infinitude of creation, brief as is our life compared with the cycles of time, we are so tethered to all by the beautiful dependencies of law that not only the sparrow's fall is felt to the uttermost bound of but the vibrations set in motion by the words we utter reach through all space, and the tremor is felt through all time." Let us worship together. There's an error in the order of service. We're actually singing number 78, so find a gray hymnal near you. We'll stand and sing together Color and Fragrance, number 78.
magical rhythm, sweet changing music will change us with them. Life within life, inner light, gently glowing. Surely you seem to be God's vision growing. Oh, starry heavens, worlds of all splendor, suns without number, new life and gender, wheel in a wheel with a light brightly glowing, moving in harmony, God's vision growing, and full of perils, by mountain passes, depths of the ocean, dew on the grasses, great things and small, with the light gently glowing, word of the wordless song, God's vision growing. Delicate beings, laced wing and sparrow, in fields and forests, cover and narrow, life greeting life with the light brightly glowing. None are too small to be God's vision growing. Inhumanized earth, the soul of living, millions altars of loving giving, greeting we meet, seeing light brightly glowing, sharing a greater life, God's vision growing, shaper of all things, to us you've given, more chance to keep here, on earth the heaven, moving in harmony, light gently glowing, may we be gratefully, God's vision growing.
Please remain standing for the lighting of our chalice. In Unitarian Universalism, the chalice is our most central symbol. We light it at each of our services, and we light it at weddings and at funerals and at child dedications. So, of course, we light it this morning. For us, it is a light of hope and a beacon of knowledge. It is the flame of truth and of justice and of love. This morning, we light our chalice with these words by Leslie Cole Causabau. Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom, we strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home. Please be seated. I'd like to welcome you again to church this morning. It's still winter time. I want to remind folks that if you're more comfortable at the service wearing a mask, that is absolutely fine with me. Also reminding folks that if you're not feeling well on a Sunday morning, to just do yourself and all the rest of us a favor and stay at home. You can watch the Zoom, but if you are not feeling well, just stay home. And we'll get through all of the various illnesses that come around this winter as best we can. Also, a little reminder about parking. I know parking gets tough when there's snow. Just do your best. Head out a little bit early. There are 5 spaces behind the church, so if you're showing up close to the hour and one of them is available, go ahead and just take it. There is also the parking lot at Groff's Funeral Home, which is just down, it's Vine Street, right? It's right down here, yeah. So find it. If you need help finding it, there's maps out in the lobby, but having a parking plan on a Sunday morning is always a good idea. I want to welcome you to this service, whether you have been coming here for decades, whether you raised your children here, whether you were married in this sanctuary, whether or not this is an old home to you, you are welcome here. And likewise, if it's even your very first Sunday among us, we are glad that you are with us, and we welcome you into this open-minded, warm-hearted congregation, and we enjoy walking this spiritual path with all of you. So welcome to church this morning.
Would you please join me in reading the responsive reading? It's number 530 in the back of your gray hymnal, called Out of the Stars. I will begin, and would you please join in the italicized sections? Out of the stars in their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here have we come, stardust and sunlight mingling through time and through space. Out of the stars have we come, up from time. Out of the stars have we come. Time out of time before time, in the vastness of space, Earth spun to orbit the sun. Earth with the thunder of mountains newborn, the boiling of seas. Earth warmed by sun, lit by sunlight. This is our home. Out of the stars have we come. Mystery hidden in mystery, back through all time. Mystery rising from rocks in the storm and the sea. Out of the stars, rising from rocks and the sea, kindled by sunlight on earth, arose life. Ponder this thing in your heart. Ponder with awe. Out of the sea to the land, out of the shallows came ferns. Out of the sea to the land, up from darkness to light, rising to walk and to fly, out of the sea trembled life. Ponder this thing in your heart. Lift up life up from the sea, eyes to behold, throats to sing, mates to love. Life from the sea, warmed by sun, washed by rain. Life from within, giving birth, rose to love. This is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of stars swung the earth. Life upon earth rose to love. This is the marvel of life, rising to see and to know. Out of your heart cry wonder, sing that we live.
Our second reading this morning is a poem by Joy Harjo. Joy Harjo was the first Native American poet laureate, and she has just finished up her service in that capacity. To pray, you open your whole self, to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you, and to know there is more. That you can't see, can't hear, can't know except in moments, steadily growing and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in the blue sky in wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and all kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all of this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagle rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty. I invite you to settle in for the sermon. One of my favorite things to do when I am camping in the Adirondacks is to set an alarm for 2 o'clock a.m. or 3 o'clock a.m. to wake up and see the stars. On a cloudless night, when the alarm wakes me, I climb out of my sleeping bag and put my shoes on, unzip the tent door. With headlamp firmly in place, I find my kayak resting at the shore, put it into the water, and shove off onto the black mirror of the lake. Everything is perfectly still and dark. As I float a few hundred feet from shore, I turn off my headlamp, set my paddle aside, and look up in awe. There above me shines the cosmos. Stars by the billions send their faint light to my eyes. Familiar constellations speak their ancient names: Orion, Ursa Major, Capricorn, the Pleiades. Modeled in the sky, our own Milky Way galaxy reveals itself, a cloud of suns. As I look at them, I know some of the light still comes to me from long dead stars, and the light of new stars has not yet reached Earth. Floating on the black surface of the lake, there are stars above me and stars reflected below me. In moments like these, I feel small and enormous all at once. I am just one creature among many, a small, short life in a particular time and place. And I belong to the only species on Earth that knows the stars are there. A finite human, I can see the cosmos. Suspended where water and air join, I feel one with everything. Amy Plantinga Powell, writing in the Christian Century, says, "The current scientific consensus is that we live in an expanding universe, a galaxy-filled space that began some 13.8 billion years ago with the Big Bang. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, is an enormous system of stars, of which our sun is a single, rather insignificant member. We Earthlings inhabit the third planet from the sun in our tiny solar system. Biological life on Earth began approximately 3.5 billion years ago, roughly 10 billion years after the Big Bang. The hominid ancestor, she says, that we have in common with the chimpanzees did not emerge until about 6 or 7 million years ago, and anatomically modern humans emerged in Africa roughly 200,000 years ago. Human beings take their place alongside millions of other species as latecomers to life on Earth. So what are we doing here, you and me? We live on a planet billions of years in the making, a planet that will go on in one form or another long past our separate lives. We inhabit a paradox that acknowledges we are alive now and we know we will die one day. Of all Earth's creatures, we are the only ones who know both the beginning of our lives and that they will end. And for this reason, humans need to make sense of their life. They need to sort out the paradox of existence and impermanence So we do what we have always done. We form religion around the human need to know our place in the universe. We create stories and rituals to make sense of it all, and we even try to outdo one another, claiming our worldview is the only right one. Humans are hardwired for religion. You and I are no exception. We too feel the 6 million years of human evolution that taught us to look up at the stars. The oddest thing about religions, though, is that they usually do not take a cosmic view of themselves. Religions usually concern themselves with a few thousand years of human history at best. They usually limit God to that same brief span. To this day, religions center the human experience on a planet metaphorically at the center of the universe. Only the human drama on planet Earth matters much to them. Religions act as if Copernicus had never lived. And it is this short-sighted view of history that gets them into trouble. Jews forget about the ancient religions from which they emerged, worshippers of Baal and Isis. Christians forget about the Roman pagan practices that they absorbed. Muslims forget how Abraham, Moses, and Jesus led religious movements preceding the prophet Muhammad. Buddhists and Hindus forget Confucius. Catholics forget the Druids. And even we Unitarian Universalists get amnesia about our own Christian roots. So interested in responding to what is right in front of them, religions forget not only the religious traditions they came from, but also a time when there were no humans at all. Religions agree that God created the universe and then do not give God any credit for 99% of evolution's work. If God really was just waiting for humanity to emerge, then she waited a very long time. The challenge for religious people like you and me is how to live gently on our earthly home and how to think on its behalf. As latecomers to this planet, we humans are also pretty hard on it. We war with one another, we kill off other species, we pollute the land, the air, and the water, we destroy the very home on which we live. And we also demonstrate so much goodness in spite of the cruelty. You and I are no strangers to love. We know how to create peace. Hope is something we keep alive. Beauty and joy are not foreign to us. I am fully convinced the goodness of this world vastly outweighs its cruelty. Let me say that again. I am fully convinced that the goodness of this world vastly outweighs its cruelty. I'm convinced ordinary human beings like you and me keep all that is good and precious and life-giving alive through our ordinary actions. We are not powerless. We are not insignificant. We have choices. We can change hearts and minds. And this is a cosmic view of religion. When we stop worrying about the particulars of our faith, whether it is good enough or right enough, then we can actually use our faith for the good of all. When we stop comparing ourselves to others, wondering if God is real or not, then we can actually live as if love matters. The insignificance of Earth in the cosmos should not make us give up. It should make us fight harder for this lonely planet. Again, Amy Plantinga Powell writes, astrophysicist and science communicator Neil deGrasse Tyson has dramatized the brevity of human existence within the larger cosmic story by laying out the whole history of the universe to this point over a one-year calendar. By prorating 13.8 billion years across an imaginary 12 months, Degrassi Tyson's cosmic calendar shows that all of what we think of as our human history taking place in the last minute of the last hour of the last day of the universe. As biologist Francis Collins observes, God writes such short stories about humankind. If humans have only been around for 1 minute of 1 hour of one day late in the history of creation, why should any religion think that it is too special to work with any of the others? Reverend Forrest Church, late of All Souls Church Unitarian in New York City, gives us the image of a cathedral where each religion is a different stained glass window, but all are illumined by the same sunlight. The windows look different, to be sure, but they all receive the same light. His point, of course, is not to give up our individuality, but to realize that we all come from the same source. And this is where our own universalism comes in. We know the particularities of this UU faith of ours, and these beliefs and practices do not blind us to the good of other religions. As Universalists, we believe that no one will be damned to hell. No one. We believe all will be saved, and we look for the common good among the religions. This universalism of ours extends well beyond humankind as well. We see to us as siblings the animals and the plants, the fish and the birds. Universalism requires us to see the universe as our home and the whole universe, not just a tiny part of it. We Universalists can stand under a star-filled sky, admiring distant galaxies, while also seeing a homeless person sleeping in a doorway on a cold night. We are capable of so much, you and me, and because we are capable of so much, we must do what we can. We humans are latecomers on planet Earth, and of its creatures, we are the most capable of both destroying and rebuilding. Now, I'm always impressed by the tenacity of other species, how they live not for the individual fish or animal or insect, but for the continuation of their kind. In cycles of birth, growth, mating, raising young, and dying, the other creatures of the world see their continuation in cosmic terms, and I wonder about us. Each species wants to make sure some of its members survive to pass on their genes. Each considers it a success if another generation replaces the one before it. With almost no consideration for the individual, creation continues to create itself, cycle after cycle. Only humans can see the ways in which our actions help or harm the earth. Only humans can make the choices needed to avoid extinction. Because of this, we are both the most dangerous of the creatures and the most needed. For if humans can decide to do things differently, the cycle for so many others can continue uninterrupted. But if we do not do things differently, all creatures suffer with us. Climate change is real. What we do today will affect generations to come. No small act is not worth it. No big idea is too bold. We must change, you and me. For if we do not, the planet will live on, but it will be irredeemably marred. And then all the religions in the world will not matter. Usually about 20 minutes on the darkened lake in my kayak is enough. I have seen the stars. I've checked in with the Milky Way. Off in the distance, a loon calls, drawing my mind back to terra firma. It is still night. I am still sleepy. As I gently paddle back to the shore, I'm convinced of two amazing things. I am lucky to be alive, and I must not live just for myself. Lucky to be alive, to see and taste and hear and smell, to know love and joy and pain and loss, to live an examined life, to learn and grow and change, and to not just live for myself. To realize my life has a purpose. It is not some random chance occurrence in an uncaring universe. To know again that I am required to care about other people. I'm required to live more gently on this planet. I'm required to ease suffering and spread hope. I am required to squander love in a hurting world. As I crawl back into the still, warm sleeping bag, a sense of peace and satisfaction washes over me. I am the tiniest creature in the world this night, the most insignificant and the most powerful. The stars are out there as they have been for billions of years, and they are also inside me, in my body, in my mind, in my soul. The particularities of my life do not matter much in the cosmic scheme of things. As I drift off to sleep again, I am reassured in some strange way that the universe does, in fact, know my name. So be it. Amen.
With the exception of my years away at college, I have always lived in rural areas. Sunrises and sunsets, moon phase changes, and the moon's own rising and setting have always been available to me. On a clear night, with the help of charts, I can find constellations and planets. A recent treat earlier this month was to see seemingly tiny Mars be eclipsed by the full wolf moon. The planting, growing, and harvesting seasons guide my garden work. As humans, we have for eons been viewers of terrestrial and celestial cycles. No doubt the creatures and the flora that preceded early human development had some biological sense of these cycles and accommodated their reproduction accordingly. I imagine that the Homo sapiens of 50,000 years ago, on the cusp of developing language and cultural practices, looking at their world and their sky, recognized the patterns of nature. And how did they respond? I imagine that it was often with fear, but sometimes also with awe. The cultures of later millennia must have had the same reactions, awe and fear. Surely they must have thought that some powerful forces were controlling earthquakes and lightning and drought and disease. And so the concept of gods developed. Gods must be pleased to avert disasters for humankind. And so worship rituals developed to thank the gods for good outcomes and to propitiate them for not causing future harm. The word religion derives from the Latin religio and means awe, respect for what is sacred. The religions that developed across the earth over many millennia reflected the different and particular circumstances and locations of their adherents, as well as their idea of a deity or deities. But all religions I'm aware of, and I'm not an encyclopedia of religions, seem to include the concept of awe. Reverend Howard posed this question: what might a cosmic view of religion do to our perspective, that is, of our control over the world since its beginning? I feel that religious practices promising that divine intervention will save us and our world are too simplistic, that following this particular God or that particular faith will save us. Scientific inquiry has explained many of the causes that provoked fear in our ancient ancestors and has developed cures and vaccines for disease, as well as means to forecast natural occurrences, such as blizzards, and to withstand disasters, such as earthquakes. Science also alerts us to awesome prospects. For example, consider the 2024 total lunar eclipse, which many people across the United States in particular followed. But science per se will not save us, just as following a particular God or a particular faith will not save us. We as humans need to recognize how very small we are, how limited our individual abilities are. We need to recognize that only when we put aside selfish concerns, when we work cooperatively with others to help others, can we eliminate the widespread inequities that exist in our world. A mantra echoed by some of the world's greatest philosophers, Buddha, Confucius, Jesus, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Perhaps if we all followed this, we might create a world we could regard with awe. It's the time in our service when we conduct our offering, our share the plate. Half of the plate collection every week is shared with a noble and special recipient across our community. And the recipient for this month is Clare House, a transitional housing program for mothers and children in Lancaster. The offering may now be collected.
Thank you, Alan, for the beautiful music. We come to a thoughtful, prayerful time in our service. If you have come to church this morning with a great joy that you would like to press into a stone, or a heavy sorrow that you would like to release into a stone, I invite you to come forward and place a stone in the sand. It may have been a heavy week for many of us, so the line may be a little longer than usual this morning. We'll see. Please just come up the center aisle and then return by the side aisle. If you are experiencing a joy or a sorrow, please come forward and offer that as a prayer in a stone set in sand. invite you now to hold a time of silence with this gathered congregation, and then I'll offer a pastoral prayer. Spirit of life, as we sit in this quiet sanctuary, as we sit here feeling both our individuality and the common good, the common humanity around us. Let us think for a moment of where we have come and realize once again that we are in fact made of stardust. That those billions of years ago, life was set in motion, and it has resulted in us, in me the particular, and us the collective. Let us be grateful for this life, these years that we have been given, this chance to inhabit this exact body with all of its amazing parts and all of its silly, foolish, and failing ones too. Grateful for this life, this mind, this heart, these hands. Grateful to sit among people who wish for the world the same things that we wish, that it would be more peaceful, that wealth would be spread more evenly, that there would be less disease and fewer deaths, that babies would be born and grow up well nurtured and live into the potential of their lives, that war would end, that hunger would cease. Thank you for these impulses, for they are the very things that propel us to do the little things every single day that keep the goodness of this world, that balance sheet, in the positive. Forgive us the times that we doubt ourselves or doubt our communities. Forgive us the times when we worry needlessly or fear that our own life is not enough. Remind us once again that we are surrounded not only by human friends and human helpers, but by a magnificent world filled with amazing creatures that want the same thing we want, which is to live and to love, to thrive and to grow, and to pass some part of themselves on to the next generation. For when we look at this world through cosmic eyes, we will see how small and how foolish all of our plans are, all of the things we construct to make ourselves better than other people or more significant. Remind us once again that we are stardust, that we too formed in the oceans and crawled out of them and climbed the trees and finally learned to see the stars. Because if we can remember this, then all the rest will come naturally to us. And this earth, our home, will not be a stranger to us and not an enemy. It will be a friend and a lover, the true God worth worshiping, the true thing worth saving. Amen.
Would you please join me in saying our affirmation of faith? You will find it in the inside front cover of your gray hymnal. We'll say it first in English and then in Spanish. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ofrenda. Este es nuestro gran pacto, el convivir unidos en paz, el buscar la verdad en amor y ayudarnos unos a los otros. I'd like to draw your attention to the announcements that are printed in your order of service at the bottom of the second page. And then also on the back, there are a number of announcements. I'd like to highlight one in particular, and that is that Reverend Howard and Sue Ziegler today at 11:30 are going to meet with anyone who is interested in information about UUCL and becoming a member. That's in room 201 at 11:30. It's on the second floor. Also, I most especially like to invite you to Coffee Hour, which is downstairs just below us. It's accessible by elevator or by staircase for coffee and conversation. Thank you.
But first, let's sing again. I invite you to find one of those gray hymnals near you and turn to number 27. These are words by Hildegard of Bingen. She was a 12th century Christian monastic and quite an environmentalist long before that was in vogue. Let us stand and sing together, I Am That Great and Fiery Force, number 27. From this place, remembering that you are made of stardust. When it is dark and when it is night, look up and see those same stars, those kindred elements out there, looking back at you, just as you look at them. Go in peace, go in love. Amen.